Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Have you ever cried over someone, then quietly felt your heart breathe easier after they were gone? Have you ever begged Allah to keep a person in your life, only to discover that peace entered when they left? Strange, isn't it? How can losing someone wound the heart, yet heal the soul? How can the person you feared losing become the reason your nights grew calmer, your chest grew lighter, and your mind grew quiet again? Tonight, you'll uncover a truth many hearts understand only after pain. Not every goodbye is a punishment. Not every closed door is rejection. Not every heartbreak is a loss. Sometimes Allah removes the person you were desperate to keep because He saw the burden you were calling love. Sometimes He takes away what your heart wanted to give you what your soul needed. Stay until the end, because you may realize the peace you felt after they left was not random. It was Allah answering you with mercy. The relief you felt was proof your soul was exhausted. There are some people who drain the soul long before they ever break the heart. The pain does not always arrive through one big betrayal or one obvious moment. Sometimes it comes slowly, through constant confusion, emotional uncertainty, and the quiet stress of never feeling secure. From the outside, everything may have looked normal. You still answered their messages. You still smiled when people asked how things were going. You still defended them in your mind. You still hoped that one more conversation, one more chance, one more effort would finally make things better. You kept trying to keep the connection alive, but inside, something deeper was becoming tired. Tired of wondering where you stood, tired of mixed signals, tired of feeling close one day and distant the next, tired of giving love while receiving inconsistency, tired of carrying emotional weight in silence, tired of pretending something unstable could someday become peaceful. Many people think exhaustion only comes from hard work, financial pressure, or physical struggle. But some of the deepest exhaustion comes from relationships that keep the heart unsettled and the mind restless. A tired body can sleep, but a tired soul feels heavy even after rest. Then one day, they leave. And suddenly, something unexpected happens. You breathe differently. Your chest feels less tight. Your mind becomes quieter. You wake up lighter. You begin to think clearly again. The anxiety that once felt normal starts to fade. You realize how much energy was being consumed just trying to survive that connection. That relief was not coldness. It was not cruelty. It was not proof that you never cared. It was proof that your soul had been under pressure for too long. Sometimes we cry when people leave because the heart feels loss. But later, we feel peace because the soul feels release. Allah, in His mercy, sometimes removes what we were too attached to let go of ourselves. He sees the burden we normalize. He sees the tears we hide. He sees the stress we excuse in the name of love. Your relief was not an accident. It was a sign. Your soul had been asking for rest long before your mouth was ready to admit it. Their absence exposed the burden you had been carrying in silence. Sometimes you do not realize how heavy something is until Allah removes it from your hands. While they were in your life, you may have believed you were carrying love. You may have thought your struggle was proof of loyalty, patience, or deep care. You told yourself that every painful moment was just part of relationships, and that if you tried a little harder, understood a little more, or waited a little longer, everything would eventually become peaceful. But in truth, you were carrying far more than love. You were carrying uncertainty. You were carrying emotional pressure. You were carrying disappointment that repeated itself again and again. You were carrying the fear of losing someone who was already disturbing your peace. You were carrying conversations that drained you. You were carrying overthinking that followed you into the night. You were carrying hope for a version of them that rarely appeared. You were carrying the stress of pretending everything was fine when your heart knew otherwise. Because the burden became daily, it started to feel normal. This is how many people remain trapped in unhealthy connections. They become so used to the heaviness that they stop noticing it. They adapt to anxiety. They normalize confusion. They call emotional exhaustion love because they have carried it for so long. Then Allah creates distance. The calls stop. The messages slow down. The cycle breaks. And in the silence that follows, the truth begins to appear. You notice your mind is calmer. You notice your body feels lighter. You notice you are laughing again without forcing it. You notice your chest is no longer tight every evening. You notice that peace has entered places stress once occupied. Their absence exposed what their presence had been costing you. Sometimes we think we miss a person, when in reality, we miss the routine built around them. We miss the habit of checking our phone. We miss the emotional drama we became attached to. We miss the hope that one day they would become who we wanted them to be. But when the noise fades, we finally see clearly. Not everyone who stays in your life is a blessing, and not everyone who leaves is a loss. Some people leave behind emptiness. Others leave behind relief. Allah, in His wisdom, sometimes removes a burden in the form of a person because we were too emotionally attached to recognize the weight ourselves. So if someone left and your heart slowly became lighter, do not ignore that sign. You were not only carrying them, you were carrying pain in silence. And Allah, the most merciful, knew it was time to put it down for you. Your heart missed them while your soul finally began to rest. One of the most confusing feelings after someone leaves is missing them, while also feeling better without them. You may have cried for them, yet slept more peacefully after they were gone. You may have thought about them every day, yet noticed your chest felt lighter in their absence. You may have wanted one message from them, yet quietly feared the chaos their return might bring. This inner conflict confuses many hearts. They ask themselves, if they were wrong for me, why do I still miss them? But the answer is deeper than emotion, because the heart and the soul do not always react the same way. The heart becomes attached to memories. It remembers special moments. It remembers kind words. It remembers laughter, closeness, dreams, and the version of them you hoped would stay. The heart often clings to what was beautiful, while forgetting how painful the full reality became. But the soul seeks something higher. The soul seeks peace. The soul seeks sincerity. The soul seeks what draws you closer to Allah, not what keeps you trapped in confusion. The soul can feel drained by a connection, even while the heart is still attached to it. So when they left, your heart may have grieved the loss of familiarity, companionship, and dreams that never fully happened. But your soul may have quietly whispered, Alhamdulillah, because for the first time in a long time, it could breathe. No more constant overthinking. No more emotional instability. No more checking your phone with anxiety. No more carrying the weight of mixed signals. No more losing yourself trying to keep someone who was disturbing your peace. This is why healing often feels so complicated. Part of you misses them. Part of you feels relieved. Part of you wants them back. Part of you never wants that pain again. Part of you remembers the sweetness. Part of you remembers the wounds. And in that battle, many people think something is wrong with them, but nothing is wrong with you. You are simply experiencing the difference between attachment and truth. The heart can become attached to people, but the soul recognizes what is healthy. The heart may cry for what it lost, but the soul thanks Allah for what it escaped. This is why not every longing should be followed. Just because you miss someone does not mean they are meant to return. Just because the heart aches does not mean the door should reopen. Sometimes the heart is remembering moments, while the soul is remembering pain. And Allah, in His mercy, may close a door your emotions still wanted because He knew your inner peace needed it shut. So be patient with yourself during healing. Do not shame yourself for missing them, but do not betray your peace by running back too quickly either. Give your heart time to catch up with what your soul already knows. Some people are hard to forget, but still necessary to lose. And sometimes the greatest mercy is when Allah protects your soul from what your heart was still chasing. Allah removed the noise so your heart could hear peace again. Some people create noise in your life even when they are silent. They may not always be speaking to you, yet they remain loud inside your mind. Their presence follows you into your thoughts, your mood, your sleep, and your daily peace. They occupy space in your heart, far greater than the place they deserve in your life. This kind of noise is dangerous because it is not always visible. It sounds like overthinking every small message. It sounds like rereading conversations again and again. It sounds like waiting for replies that control your emotions. It sounds like checking your phone with hope, fear, and anxiety. It sounds like losing focus in salah, because your mind is full of them. It sounds like carrying tension in your chest while pretending everything is normal. Many people think noise only comes from arguments, shouting, or obvious conflict. But some of the loudest noise is internal. It is the mental chaos created by people who keep you emotionally unsettled. You may smile in public while your inner world feels restless. You may look calm to others while your thoughts are constantly spinning. You may appear fine while your heart feels crowded. Then Allah, in His wisdom, removes them. Sometimes through distance, sometimes through a breakup, sometimes through unanswered efforts, sometimes through doors closing that you tried so hard to keep open. At first, the silence can feel uncomfortable because chaos had become familiar. When someone has filled your life with emotional noise for long enough, peace can feel strange in the beginning. Quietness may feel empty. Stability may feel boring. Calmness may feel unfamiliar. But slowly, something beautiful starts to happen. Your breathing becomes deeper. Your mind becomes clearer. Your sleep becomes softer. Your heart feels less heavy. You begin to notice things you ignored. You begin to hear your own thoughts again. You begin to remember who you were before the confusion. You begin to feel the sweetness of turning back to Allah without distraction. Sometimes we think we miss the person, when in reality, we miss the stimulation they created. We miss the emotional highs and lows. We miss the habit of chaos. We miss the drama that kept us mentally occupied. But peace is more valuable than excitement. Calm is more valuable than confusion. A stable heart is more precious than a thrilling connection that drains the soul. Allah sometimes removes the noise around you because He wants you to hear something greater. He wants you to hear your own worth again. He wants you to hear the guidance you kept ignoring. He wants you to hear the quiet warnings your heart was sending. He wants you to hear the call back to Him. There are people who are so loud in our inner world that we cannot hear ourselves while they are present. So Allah creates distance, and in that distance, healing begins. In that silence, clarity returns. In that quietness, faith grows. In that calm, the heart finally rests. So if someone left and your life became quieter, do not always call it loneliness. Sometimes it is mercy. Sometimes it is protection. Sometimes it is Allah clearing the noise so your heart could hear peace again. You were chasing a person while losing the peace meant for you. Many people do not lose themselves in one sudden moment. They lose themselves slowly while chasing someone who keeps moving further away. At first, it feels innocent. You tell yourself, you are only trying to fix things. You are only trying to communicate. You are only trying to prove your sincerity. You are only trying to hold on to someone you care about. But over time, what began as effort becomes exhaustion. What began as hope becomes dependence. What began as love becomes a daily struggle for crumbs. You start chasing replies, chasing reassurance, chasing consistency, chasing affection that should have come naturally, chasing clarity from someone who keeps benefiting from confusion, chasing a version of them that appears just enough to keep you attached, but never enough to bring real peace. And while you chase them, something precious starts slipping away. Your calm begins to disappear. Your focus weakens. Your sleep becomes restless. Your emotions become tied to their moods. Your confidence starts depending on how they treat you. Your day rises and falls with messages, silence, attention, or distance. This is how many hearts become trapped. They think they are pursuing a person, when in reality, they are sacrificing peace. They think persistence is noble, even while it is breaking them. They think if they love harder, wait longer, forgive more, or tolerate enough pain, the relationship will finally become what they dreamed it could be. But some doors only stay open by draining the one standing at them. Some people keep you near, only while costing you your inner stability. Some connections survive only because one person keeps bleeding to maintain them. That is not the kind of love Allah intends to bless. A blessed connection does not require you to abandon your dignity. A healthy bond does not make peace feel impossible. Real care does not leave you constantly anxious, confused, and emotionally starved. Allah did not create your heart to live in endless pursuit of someone who gives little and takes much. He created your heart for sakina, for steadiness, for mercy, for emotional safety, for a love that brings you closer to Him, not further into distress. Many people ask, why did Allah remove them? But sometimes the better question is, how much peace was I losing while trying to keep them? Because not every separation takes something valuable. Some separations stop the bleeding. Some endings save your dignity. Some closed doors protect blessings you were losing while staring at one person who was never meant to stay. And often, when Allah removes someone you kept chasing, He is not depriving you. He is rescuing you from the exhausting cycle of wanting what was costing you too much. So if they left, and your life slowly became calmer, if your mind became clearer, if your worship became stronger, if your smile returned without needing their attention, then perhaps you were never losing them. Perhaps you were finally recovering the peace that had always been meant for you. Sometimes we cry because a person walked away. Then later we realize, peace walked back in. And that is why some departures are not punishments. They are mercy from Allah, because you were chasing a person while losing the peace meant for you. Sometimes Allah answers your dua by removing what was hurting you. Many people imagine that every answer to dua will arrive in the form of something being given, a new opportunity, a healed relationship, more money, a door opening, a person returning, a situation changing exactly the way they hoped. But Allah, in His perfect wisdom, does not always answer by adding something to your life. Sometimes He answers by removing something from it. Sometimes the greatest mercy comes through subtraction. You may have raised your hands and asked Allah for peace. You may have whispered in the night, asking for relief. You may have cried after salah, asking for clarity. You may have begged Allah to ease the heaviness in your chest. You may have said, Ya Allah, fix this. You may have said, Ya Allah, help me. You may have said, Ya Allah, I am tired. And Allah heard every word. He heard the du'as you spoke clearly. He heard the tears you could not explain. He heard the pain you hid from people. He heard the exhaustion behind your silence. Then He answered, but not in the form you expected. He removed the person who kept disturbing your peace. He closed the door you kept forcing open. He created distance from what was draining your heart. He ended the cycle you were too emotionally attached to end yourself. And because the answer did not come wrapped the way you imagined, you first called it heartbreak. You called it loss. You called it disappointment. You called it the worst thing that happened. But later, with time, clarity arrived. Your sleep improved. Your chest became lighter. Your mind became calmer. Your worship became softer. Your life became less heavy. And slowly you realized Allah had answered you. Many hearts ask Allah for healing while still clinging to the wound. Many people ask for peace while refusing to release what destroys it. Many souls ask for light while holding tightly to what keeps them in darkness. So Allah, the most merciful, sometimes does for us what we struggle to do for ourselves. He separates us from what we were too attached to let go of. This is not cruelty. This is care. This is not abandonment. This is protection. This is not Allah ignoring your dua. This may be Allah answering it in the deepest possible way. Think about how often we pray for blessings while insisting on keeping the burden. We ask for serenity while feeding anxiety. We ask for healthy love while chasing harmful attachment. We ask for guidance while defending the very thing that keeps confusing us. But Allah sees the full picture. He knows what that person would cost you in another year. He knows what that path would damage in your heart. He knows what tears were waiting ahead if He left everything untouched. So, He intervenes, sometimes gently, sometimes suddenly, sometimes through a painful ending that later becomes a beautiful beginning. And only after time passes do we understand that what hurt in the moment was healing in disguise. This is why believers trust Allah, even when they do not understand immediately, because our vision is limited to today. But Allah sees what is coming. Our emotions react to loss, but Allah acts with knowledge, mercy, and wisdom. So if something left your life after you begged Allah for relief, do not rush to assume your dua was denied. If a person disappeared after nights of tears, do not rush to believe Allah forgot you. If a door closed after you asked for guidance, do not think heaven became silent. Sometimes the closed door is the answer. Sometimes the distance is the mercy. Sometimes the removal is the rescue. And sometimes the thing you cried over losing was the very thing your dua was asking Allah to take away. Allah did not just take them away. He gave you back to yourself. Sometimes when a person leaves, we become so focused on what was taken away that we fail to notice what was quietly returned. We count the messages that stopped. We count the plans that ended. We count the memories that now hurt. We count the emptiness they left behind. But we do not always count the peace that came back. We do not always count the energy that returned. We do not always count the version of ourselves that slowly began to rise again. Some people do not just occupy a place in your life. They occupy your thoughts, your time, your emotions, your focus, and your confidence. They become so central to your inner world that little by little, you start disappearing while trying to keep them. You stop recognizing yourself. You become anxious in ways you never were before. You become insecure where you once felt calm. You become emotionally tired where you once felt hopeful. You begin measuring your worth by their attention. You begin measuring your mood by their consistency. You begin adjusting yourself just to avoid losing someone who is already costing you too much. This is how many people lose themselves, not through one dramatic event, but through slow emotional erosion, piece by piece, boundary by boundary, prayer by prayer, smile by smile, until one day, you hardly remember who you were before the struggle began. Then Allah removes them. At first, it feels like something precious has been taken. The heart grieves. The mind questions. The nafs resists. You wonder why it had to happen. You wonder why the door closed. You wonder why someone you wanted was no longer yours to hold. But with time, another truth appears. You laugh again without forcing it. You sleep without carrying dread. You make plans without waiting on anyone's mood. You return to hobbies, goals, and dreams that were neglected. You feel lighter in salah. You make dua with presence again. You look in the mirror and begin to recognize yourself. You realize that while you were trying to keep them, you had slowly abandoned yourself. And Allah, in His mercy, did not just remove a person. He restored a person. You. He returned your calm. He returned your clarity. He returned your self-respect. He returned your emotional balance. He returned the time that was being wasted in confusion. He returned the heart that had become dependent on unstable hands. He returned the soul that had become buried beneath stress. Many people think the greatest blessing after heartbreak is finding someone new. Sometimes the greatest blessing is becoming whole again before anyone new arrives. Sometimes the gift is learning that your joy was never supposed to depend on one person. Sometimes the gift is discovering that you were lovable before them, valuable without them, and capable after them. Sometimes the gift is remembering that Allah is enough when people are not. There are people whose absence hurts first, then heals later, because their departure creates the space your healing needed. Their leaving creates the silence where your identity can be rebuilt. Their distance creates the room where your relationship with Allah can deepen again. And what looked like emptiness becomes sacred space. What looked like loneliness becomes restoration. What looked like loss becomes return. So, if someone left and you slowly became stronger, calmer, wiser, and closer to Allah, then understand what truly happened. Allah did not only close a door, He opened one inside you. He did not only take someone away, He gave you back your dignity. He gave you back your peace. He gave you back your direction. He gave you back your heart. He gave you back to yourself. And sometimes that is a greater gift than the person you were crying to keep. If someone left your life and your heart still aches when you remember them, be gentle with yourself. Healing does not always happen in one moment. Sometimes the tears stop first, and the understanding comes later. Sometimes the heart mourns what the soul already knows was not meant to stay. You may still miss them. You may still wonder what could have been. You may still replay old memories in quiet moments. But never forget this truth. Not everything you miss was good for you. Not everything you loved was written to remain. And not every ending was sent to break you. Some endings were sent to save you. Allah sees what hearts cannot always see. He knows the pain hidden behind smiles, the exhaustion hidden behind attachment, and the storms hidden behind beautiful moments. He removes with wisdom, even when we only feel loss at first. So if your chest became lighter after they left, if your nights became calmer, if your prayers became softer, if you slowly began finding yourself again, then thank Allah for the mercy you once cried against. One day, what confused you will make sense. One day, what hurt you will strengthen you. One day, what left you will no longer define you. And one day, you may look back with tears in your eyes and whisper, Ya Allah, now I understand why you took them away, because the peace you felt without them was your answer.